Hello, and welcome back to the Pretty Little Podcast. We're your hosts.
My name is Phoebe.
And my name is Caroline. And today we have some exciting reunions and finales to discuss. Lots going on in the pop culture space. We've got a new Lady Gaga episode to dive into. But I do have some personal things that I want. Well, they're not that personal, but just like in my own life that I want to talk about. Just some observations I've had before we get into all of that stuff. So this is a time for just other people, normal people business, which is my business, and some observations I've had. So I'm just going to jump right in, okay?
Okay.
First thing is that I took a little day trip to Columbus on Friday for work to go to a trade show. And it's about a 3-hour drive if you don't stop at all. I stopped twice, you know. And as I'm driving, Phoebe.
I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
What?
The safety corridors.
Okay. Well, no. But I did want to also talk about that. But what are you going to say about the safety corridors?
They're the scariest things to drive through in the world because you feel like you're actually on. There was an old ride at Kennywood called the Turnpike, and it feels like you are on that ride, but instead of signs that are like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or State College, it's like you could fucking die right now. Put down your phone, you stupid slut
Phoebe, this
idiot.
is exactly what I was going to talk about. Could you just tell? You knew from the agenda that I sent you.
Well, I thought it was going to be like I thought it was going to be a game. I thought that's what I didn't think until you started talking about Ohio, because that's how I have to drive to Nashville. So we don't have these in Pennsylvania, but in Ohio and in parts of West Virginia, they have these things called safety corridors where they're like
where the
really
signs
strict.
are literally like turn back now. I mean, literally like this sign that says, all the sign says, you guys. Okay, and it's not one of those like electronic signs where you can change the message. Like, this is a permanent sign. It's there on the way to Columbus and on the way back that says, this could be your last text. And okay, here's the deal. I wasn't texting because I don't text and drive like a psycho. But what I do want to say is like, that warning is a little bit like insane for the road. I think we could say it in another way. But I'm also like, what a thought to have. I need that to actually be like an Apple iOS update that pops up on your phone when you're about to send a text that you absolutely don't need to be sending. It says this could be your last text. And you're like, wait, okay, hang on, because if that's true, and if somebody takes my phone and I die mysteriously right now and someone looks and they're like, she was texting her fuck buddy, you up, and we all said, she said she was done with that motherfucker. Like, or it's even worse, and it's like, you're sending a nasty text to your sister. I saw your fucking picture. Are you wearing my clothes, you stupid whore? Like, or you're in a fight with like your friend, or I mean, just think of all the embarrassing. Can you get me some more toilet paper? Like, think of all the embarrassing. This could be your last text. I just think there should be an app,
like packs of cigarettes that say like
you're gonna die if you open this. The Surgeon
General warning, like all this stuff. It's like we need that on our phones.
Yes. We do. We need a Surgeon General's warning for drunk texts and even just lonely texts. 'Tis the damn season text. Like, we need it.
A phone that says, Caroline, also, you sent me that tweet the other day that was like, I can't believe that it was like a screenshot of people's texts, and the person was like, I can't believe you still went to go see her. And the response was, look, I know my worth, but sometimes I go on sale. And you said, you low-key as fuck. You low-key as fuck, or something like that. And I said it to Taylor.
It's actually high-key you. Did they agree?
I said it to Taylor and Mimi, and they were like, okay, she absolutely got you. She got your ass.
Got your ass. I mean, here's the thing. Phoebe was like, oh my God. Like, and at first I was like, wait, should I apologize? No. I was like, should I apologize? No. Because it wasn't mean. It's just true. You are sometimes like that.
Well, it is like, you can know your worth.
Everybody is. I'm not.
It's just like,
I'm not
the
being
thing
mean.
is that you feel, you're not. I think that sometimes you should be able to specify, like, look, I know I'm not doing this for the reasons that everybody's projecting onto me. I might just be doing it because like I want to do X, Y, Z. It's not because I think that's what I deserve or what I'm worth.
Right.
But it's like, why not?
But then there's also like the little sick part of you that's like, this isn't what I deserve, but I can fix them. No, really, I can. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you start getting in your Taylor Swift vibe and you're like, but I'm different and this time's going to be different. So like that is a little bit of what we call delusion and your subconscious, you know, at play.
By the way, guys,
which
nothing has happened in the like recent future that has given Caroline cause to think that.
Also just the way that it was worded, like Phoebe's Twitter bio says, I take the hot out of hot mess, which I think is funny as fuck. And she'll never change it because I told her 10 years ago I think it's funny, and that will now forever be her Twitter bio, which I love that you value what I say that much. And I just think it's exactly why. And I just think it's a similar vibe as, look, I know my worth, but sometimes I go on sale, which also is something that I would have said in college. And really until I met Anthony. I know, okay, but perfect. I mean, until I met Anthony, if I had continued to be single all through my 20s, you can bet your bottom dollar I would have plenty of those moments, because I had plenty of those moments in college, one of which I'm remembering now. I mean, it's so funny to think about. Dad, like, I love this moment.
I remember that.
Like, I get my tonsils. I literally, you guys, and here's just a cautionary tale, okay? If your ex comes into town and is like, yeah, let's hang out, let's hook up, and you're like, yes, oh my God, we're gonna get back together, it's gonna be great. And then you leave for Christmas break for 3 weeks and they blow you off the night you're supposed to hang out before you leave. And then they do not text you on Christmas. They do not text you on New Year's. They don't text you at all the entire break, and you got your tonsils out, and they knew you were getting your tonsils out, and they've been watching your stories. They're aware of how you're spending. Also, your strategically placed stories, okay? Placed so that somebody will see them, and they don't even acknowledge them at all. And then you're crying every day because not only does your mouth hurt so bad from getting your tonsils out, but like this person is just ripping your heart up every moment. It's all you can think about because you're not in school. And then your dad looks at you one day and is just like, please fucking delete that number. Please, Caroline, just delete the number, please. And I'm like, okay, wow, I will do that.
I've had such a realization recently that like it sucks that we have so much access to everything. Like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, wait, people that like our parents, our grandparents, they didn't have the ability to like. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, there are things that I know about people that aren't really in my life anymore that like
I don't need to know, and I shouldn't know.
I would be so much more moved on from situations if technology weren't a part of. Because I just literally you wouldn't know anything about anybody.
It's so true.
I wish it was like that.
There's like an old episode of Vile Files where Nick is like, he has some psychologist on who is like, going through a breakup, your brain and your body experience the same thing that somebody who is addicted to heroin goes through when they experience withdrawal. Like it is by no means you being dramatic. If you're in this relationship that rocks your world and it goes away, you're now missing this like dopamine hit that your brain and your body was used to getting. You're not getting it. You go through withdrawal. You don't think clearly. You make decisions that you might not otherwise make. You're in literal pain, and it's like, it doesn't make sense to anyone unless you've really experienced it, right? And like, the thing is, the only answer is no contact. Like, but it is so hard to get to a place where you're in a space where you're like, I'm ready for that, because we're in this world where we have such unfettered access to everyone around us. It's like going no contact doesn't even mean you don't see their updates. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like you have to unfollow. You have to actually block. And like it takes a long time.
And then you think about the web, the interconnected web of everybody in their life and in your life and in lives in between that are connecting. It's connecting everybody to everybody. And it's like, we should not know this much about each other.
But there is that place where it's like you really have to be done to do that. Or like, someone has to do it for you and you have to stick with it, and it literally does feel like a drug to like unblock them. Like you're like, I can't. And I think that's why it's so hard to get over people, is because like we have all this knowledge and all this exposure and all this like whatever, and then you have the power to turn it off, but like you have to actually really be ready to like be done and not want this person. So when my father's begging me to delete this person's number, my dad, who's maybe never talked to me about a boy ever, and I was like, oh my God, like, okay. And I literally deleted him. I deleted him off of social. I deleted his number. I go back to Charleston. The second I'm back in Charleston, maybe I didn't block him because he must have seen that I was back. I get a text. I'm at a party. I get a text. Hey, do you want to get lunch tomorrow? And I'm like, who is this? Because I was drunk. I didn't even like, and that is unlike me to not immediately know that it was him. I was like, who is this? And he said, are you kidding me? It's me. And said his name. And I was like, oh, my dad begged me to delete your number over the break when you didn't speak to me for the last month when I was fucking on my deathbed.
Which is so crazy.
Crazy that the second I get back to town, he's like, want to get lunch? And guess what I said? I would love to. And so that's how you know, like, it's just, you have to be at the place where like, I thought I was there. Until he dangled a carrot in front of me. And I was like, yes, I love you. Right. And it's just so crazy. I don't remember why I started talking about that. Oh, the last text thing. But those signs, I was like just dying. I was like, okay, well, I'm not about to send a text, but I do need to open the podcast notes app so that I can add this in so I don't forget to talk about this insane sign. So I'm so glad we both have that.
I mean, I definitely, the first time I drove, I did the drive from Pittsburgh to Nashville, from Nashville to Pittsburgh. I was like, wait, what? Have I just been missing these the entire time we've been going on these road trips? And I was like, no, these are like kind of a rarity.
Dramatic, no? Like, is anyone
It feels
else?
a little much. It's giving amusement park low key. And also there's these, when you drive from Nashville to Atlanta, you go through the mountains and there are these really steep hill grades. And then leading up to like when the hill is like its steepest and it's going to be steep for a long time, there are all these signs with the percentages and like trucks pull off, you need to be weighed before you come off, lights flashing everywhere. And I'm like, I feel like I'm on the Exterminator at Kennywood. Like what? Why doesn't it's so dramatic? And I understand it, but it's like, it makes it feel so much more like, I can't describe the unsettled feeling that it makes me feel, but that's what these signs make me feel. That's how the text signs feel too.
Well, speaking of a trip to Nashville, did mom tell you?
Yeah, I haven't done any work on it yet.
Well, it's okay. She told you today.
Half asleep.
My mom.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So sweet. So I have a few exciting trips planned, and I'm going to share them in case you guys have any fun recommendations, even though I've been all these places before, but still, it's just fun to talk. So my 30th birthday is like literally in about a month, which makes me feel sick to my stomach. I'm like, the closer it gets, its imminent arrival is really fucking with me. Like, it's just, am I still going to be cool when I'm 30?
I think that 30, and this is what
not that
society's.
Here's the other thing. I'm sorry.
It's increasingly.
I know a lot of really cool 30-year-olds. Like, I don't think, and that's the issue, is I don't see anyone else who's 30 and think you're old, you're uncool.
Right.
But I feel like as soon as I'm 30, that's going to be my truth.
I think that's probably how most people feel about, like, that's how people feel about every age. Like, every age seems fine, and then you turn it and you're like, wait, I'm the oldest person that's literally ever lived.
I know.
But I do think that the 30s are becoming the new 20s.
Yeah.
And the 30 feels like such a chic age.
I think it's true. I'm glad you're feeling like that. I mean, I think the older you get, the chicer it feels. And I was just listening to Las Culturistas with Liz Feldman, and she says, like, if I could choose any age to be, I would choose 35. And that makes me feel like, okay, the best years are still ahead of me. The best is yet to come. But it is just like a crazy thing, because I feel like when you're a teenager, you're just so excited to grow up. You never think you're going to be fucking 30, so you can't wait for 20 because you're 1 year closer to 21. 30, I'm just like having kind of a moment about.
Mel Robbins was on Jake Shane's podcast.
Oh my God, how was their combo? Was like, I need to listen. That's hilarious.
He said something about being in his 20s, and she was like, your 20s are the worst.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, everybody says
it's the best.
The 20s are supposed to be the best part of your life. And she was like, yeah, but that's why it's the worst, because you're living the first 20 years of your life. And first of all, you have structure, you have all this stuff, and then that's taken from you. And you're also supposed to feel like it's the best, which I think is why a lot of people resonate with Girls, the show, is because it shows, like, and I think that's why it's having such a resurgence right now, partially is like, this new generation of 20-somethings are watching it maybe for the first time, and they're like, you do feel, say what you will about Lena Dunham, but like she did create such a feeling of that show, and it's like, wait, that's how we all feel this way, and we just like don't really talk about
There's such like a romanticizing of your 20s on television, and one thing that I think we don't talk about is that oftentimes the people who are living their 20s on screen on a scripted television show are in their 30s or older, and like we're looking at them and the story might be written for 20-year-olds, but it's also written by people who are older, and they're looking back as like, well, this is what I would have wanted my 20s to be like. Nobody, and there's kind of a sentiment where it's like, do people want to watch the struggle years? Not everyone does, you know, like people want to see the exciting stuff, but I think Broad City does a good job of it too, showing like how fun and chaotic and exciting your 20s can be, while also being really hard and your struggle years where you don't live in the place you want to live and you're still figuring out how are we going to get enough money to go to the concert we want to go to, but like those are the things you're thinking about. You know, I don't know. So I think,
and it's I also feel like the pulse of New York and the like the way that they live kind of reverberates out to the rest of the world, and I think that they depict your 20s there as like when you talk to someone from New York who's in their 20s and is living in New York, or like even in their 30s, it's like, oh well, you seem so like, it makes it feel not as old for some reason. There's something about the way that life looks there that you're like, oh, like I know that I'm in Nashville and you go out to the suburbs of Nashville and it's a bunch of like 23-year-olds who are married and like having their first kid, but like that's not just because that's what you're around doesn't mean that's what you want
or have to do. And like it's true. And I think, I don't know, it's interesting, but maybe we should do girls for our pilot this year.
That would be good. Also, exciting news. I haven't seen too much about this since the initial like press release or something, but Rachel Sennett is currently writing a girls-esque show, which is like, such a good, she's a great, she wrote on, I think she wrote on Bottoms. I can't remember, but I think she wrote on Bottoms, but she was in Shiva Baby for some reason. I think that she wrote on that too, but I think that she could have a similar vision to like, and again, like Lena Dunham she's a tough person to talk about, but I think that she clearly has such an artistic vision and voice, and I could see Rachel Sennett having something similar to that.
Well, and I think it's also like Lena Dunham was low-key such of the voice of the millennials, you know what I mean? Like when like 10 years ago, and in a way that like
girls didn't age. It's not like I mean, obviously like you can point to like these characters have flaws and are annoying, but it speaks to that millennial time in a way that isn't cringe. Like it doesn't have the same, it doesn't read the same way that a lot of millennial media does from that time.
But what's interesting is like Lena Dunham has become cringe. She has like aged kind of badly like in the public eye, I feel. And so it's interesting because I watched Girls. I loved Girls when it came out. I had it on box set, and then I stopped watching it, and then I was just like, I had such a bad taste in my mouth, honestly, about Lena Dunham that I was just like, I don't even want to watch it. But it's like now, we're gonna need a new voice of that generation every few years, every 10 years, and so like,
and I think
Rachel Sennett.
Also,
if it can't be Kat Cohen, it should be Rachel Sennett. Like I think,
and why not together?
Sense to me, and why not? And I'm also like, imagine the cast of characters Rachel Sennett is gonna be able to acquire for this show. But it's like, it's just, Lena Dunham in many ways was like the millennial voice. And
also I think that it's so important. You look at a show like that, and obviously like they're all beautiful girls. Like Allison Williams is in it. Like obviously it's not like they cast like ugly people.
They're real people.
They all looked real looking. Yeah. And like, I think oftentimes when you see rom-coms about 20-somethings coming up and doing it's like the most beautiful people you've ever seen in your entire life, and it's hard to put yourself in their shoes. But Girls depicted like a grungy, dingy New York reality, which is instantly more relatable.
Seeing the sex scene between Adam Driver and Lena Dunham and being like, that looks awful. I remember just being like if that's what like sex in my 20s is supposed to look like, I'm not interested. Like I just was like, because it looked like in this grody apartment, and like I remember seeing Lena Dunham's tattoo, like really like big, like her Pangea tattoo or whatever, and Adam Driver's like such a like dick, and he's not really like cute really, like at the time, like people hadn't gotten to the point where they think he's hot yet, so it's just like you're just looking at these like normal ass looking people who are problematic and messy in their own ways, and they're not in the aesthetic apartment in New York, and it's like but that's the reality of it. And it's just like, it's important to show those aspects. We can also have, you know, the Carrie Diaries showing us that got canceled, but I love that show. But that showing, you know, who Carrie Bradshaw was before she was Sarah Jessica Parker. And it's like, yeah, and that's
I also think
the idealistic
that's
view
another
of,
show.
You know?
That feels like the 90s girls in a way. And I think I talked about this when I started watching. Maddie started showing me episodes. I had just never seen it. I never really thought that I was going to be interested in it. And then I watched it, and I don't know how to explain it. It gave me like this sigh of relief.
I know exactly what it is.
I was like,
because
I was like, they're supposed to be and also they're in the 90s, so it's like you think about it being a new thing, that 30 is like a young age. Like our generation is the one who's rebranding it, but then you think about that being the 90s and Sex and the City, and they're all in their 30s and they're still living like,
and there's just, it
they're
shows
not
that there's just like
married with kids.
Yeah, there's just so much more life to live. Like, and I think also having it set in New York and having these shows set in New York in a lot of ways, because New York is sort of like the modern woman. Like that was sort of how we all looked at New York, and a woman living in New York is a career woman. And like, it's just a different sort of thing, which is again, fine. Like you don't have to be a career woman to be in New York, but it was just, I think it helps seeing, because in New York, we've sort of got this melting pot idea that like you can have women who are from different backgrounds who like come in together, and they all bring something different to the table, and we see how each of their lives works in New York and how it's messy, and there are all these like dramatic moments, and it's like, oh my God, there's so much life to live out there. And I think if it were done in a suburb or something, like you can't get the same feeling, because it's just like everyone's gonna be the same, you know. And
like if you said it in Mount Lebanon, what is every crazy weekend you're going to the saloon or the North Shore? Like how crazy can it?
And like
really
people
get?
aren't coming from other places to as much to like live here and grow up here. So it's also like in New York, you can have the person who's maybe from another country or even just from across this country, you know. And it's like they're bringing with it just a different vibe, a different style, a different way of speaking. And so it's like you get a different level. And like, of course, I mean, Sex and the City could have done a lot better, definitely in terms of diversity. But it's like you get these different stories that you just don't get when your show is set somewhere that's not as metropolitan as like New York. So I think that's why Girls, Broad City, Sex and the City, like these shows are able to do that so well, because of where they're placed and like what they have access to there. You know, even Gossip Girl being so different from like, you know, Pretty Little Liars in a lot of ways feels like a CW show, but we put it in this suburb where it's like it limits us a lot. Whereas Gossip Girl, there's a lot more freedom, you know? In terms of the stories you can explore. I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, the point of all this was to say that I'm turning 30 in about a month, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm going to go down to Charleston with Anthony and the dogs. I think Kelly might try to come for some of the time too.
That's fun.
A lot of my like college friends are down there, and that way I just think it'll be nice to be in Charleston and just kind of like have a time to like rest and relax.
Do they like the beach?
They've never been to the beach.
Have they been there?
No.
Well, Chuck didn't even go down to the beach when he came to
he was like a
Thanksgiving that one
puppy,
time,
and
right?
remember how much hair he had? So like at the time, we had just gotten Chuck his first haircut, and they barely cut any off because he was like super young. They were like, we really can't give him a full haircut yet. He's too young. So it was so long, and they blew it out. So it was like he looked like such a puffball. His eyelashes looked like Cindy Lou Who. So taking him to the beach, like it just would have been a disaster. But now he's like cut pretty short. So we're gonna take them. We're not letting them off leash. Anthony's too scared, but we're gonna let them play around on the beach. I'll send videos. It'll be so cute. But anyway, so we're doing that, and not sure like what all we'll get into, but it'll be really fun. And then Mom was like, what if we took a trip to Nashville this summer to celebrate your birthday? Because when I turned 21, we went on a trip together. We went to California, which was so fun. And this would be great because I get to be with Phoebe too. And I think we're going to try and stay at the Graduate, the like Dolly Parton Hotel in Nashville. Guys, if you haven't seen it, it's so cool. I was just like looking at their Instagram some more. And Trishelle from, you know, last season of the Traitors went and posted all these photos and looked so fabulous.
It's a very nice hotel.
But it's funny because Mom was like, well, let's try and center this. Like, is there a show or a concert or something that you'd want to see in Nashville? I'll ask Phoebe. Maybe there's an event that like you'd like, and we can plan the trip around that. And so she sends me this event. And this event, Phoebe, I'm sure she didn't send it to you. She sends The Magic of Mushrooms with Paul Stamets featuring Casey Musgraves at the Ryman. Thought it was a concert.
Oh.
It is a talk, I guess, about the magic of mushrooms featuring Casey Musgraves. Like, okay, Mom, what are we going to be getting into? Mom said I want to have a psychedelic freaking time in Nashville. So anyway, we're doing that. And then I'm also going to New York soon for the Charlie XCX concert.
Yes.
And then I'm going to Savannah
exciting.
this summer for Addie's Bachelorette. Haven't been to Savannah in a while. So excited for that. Yeah.
Is that a popular bachelorette destination?
I don't know. But the place we got is super cool. It's really neat. So I've got some stuff to look forward to, which is nice because, guys, the cold here too, like, won't stop. And every time we get just like faked out that like it's over, and it's not. Anyway, so I'm just excited. I think it'll be so fun. I haven't even gotten to see Phoebe's apartment. And I know I said we're going to stay at the Graduate maybe, but really we're going to stay in Phoebe's apartment. And I thought it'd be the most fun to reveal that on the pod so we could get your live reaction.
That is, there's a leak.
There's a leak. Oh my God.
Here.
And that's why we're going to stay there so we can really get to the bottom of it. Mom and I are going to figure that right out. Don't worry.
Good.
We're going to call your landlord. Good. We're going to go talk to your neighbors. We're going to be like, we just want to see like what's up. What's up? What is the stamina in here? The stamina in this room is crazy, and we want to study it for science. That's what we're going to say.
Hormone harmony. Road warriors, let's get real. Managing PMS can be difficult. When I get on to record the podcast with Caroline, it can be tough sometimes to lock into a cheerful mood. But good news, with the help of Hormone Harmony, I am able to manage my PMS and so much more. It helps me balance my moods and even improves my sleep quality. Hormone Harmony is dedicated to making women's lives better. One of the ways they achieve this is through science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. These help your body adapt to stressors. Hormone Harmony is third-party tested, non-GMO, and gluten and dairy-free. It's no wonder to me a new bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. If you can even believe it, for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code PrettyLittlePodcast at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code PrettyLittlePodcast for 15% off today. All right, let's talk about Mayhem.
Okay.
I
thought you were like going to go into something. No, I love it too. But I stand by what I said, that I really do much prefer the first half of the album to the second half.
I think that's fair. I think I still like need time with it because I've only done like a couple listens all the way through. Me and then other than that, I like put it on in the car, and then I am only hearing like the first couple songs. Yeah. And so it's like, I think that happens a lot with albums where I'm like, I love the first half, I don't really know the second half, and it's like, well, it's not that I don't like the second half, it's just that I've really primarily listened to the first. What helps is that the two first songs are singles, so I can skip those. Yes. Not because I don't like them, but because like I forgot. It was the first thing I put on while I was working on Friday, and I was like, wait.
Disease.
I can fucking grind when I put music on. Why do I watch the news all day?
That is a great question, because if I was watching the news all day, I would be crawling out of the house when it was time to leave, because all of the serotonin would be out of my body somewhere
I literally
else.
Was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting so much work done.
Sometimes I put headphones on and like listen to Doechii or something. I'm like, I'm like, I am so.
That's why I put my headphones on to listen, and I forgot how much I love Disease. I haven't listened to it in a long time.
I felt the same. I like forgot that it was a single, and I was like, wait, this song rocks. I was like, wait, I've heard this song a million times, but like,
I remember being completely locked in on Disease, and then going on Twitter and people like being like, I don't know if I like it.
Which I'm not getting. I'm not getting that. I love Disease. Obviously, love Abracadabra. This feels very Fame Monster Gaga, I think, and it feels like a cross between Fame Monster and art pop. And I love that. I think this is the Gaga that we know and love. And I like that we got to explore all these different styles and eras for her. Like, I would never trade them for anything. But I love this. And
I think her voice sounds so good on this album.
Is one of my takes
in a way that, like,
go ahead.
I think that, like, Joanne, she probably felt like that was her album to like really showcase her voice. It was like during A Star Is Born era, and like before that, I feel like Fame Monster through art pop, people were like can Lady Gaga sing?
Well, yeah,
Like,
because a
were
lot of people
still a little
aren't
bit-
looking at music critically, and they're not looking. They're like, if you're using special effects or you're using like a lot of background vocals
Well, also,
or aesthetics or something like that, then you must not have the talent to just leave your talent as it is. And it's like, well, that's negating the vision, the artistic vision that so many artists put before. Like, you have to get to a point, and this is something that I tell like musical theater singers all the time, is you need to learn that you don't always have to show them how great of a singer you are. And I think that is like, you are a good singer. They know that. Every line doesn't have to be full force 100%. This is my best singing voice. Like, sometimes it's more powerful to have the little voice crack, or to, you know, soften, thin out your voice on this part and then come in with the full. And it's like, I think that a lot of the best musicians are really good at that, good at using
We saw
their
that
voice in
video of
different
the
ways.
girl doing the color purple in the at the high
Yes.
school, and she like went into her head voice instead of
Yeah.
making herself go all the way up. And it's like, that didn't take away from anybody watching the video and
No,
being
and
like, she's
a
amazing.
teenager in high school with such a mature, healthy
Wait,
vocal
pause,
decision.
tangent.
Okay.
Tangent real quick.
Okay.
When you went to go see Gatsby the musical, did you feel like you came away with a hex?
What?
Well, I guess you didn't, because you didn't see Ryan McCartan.
Fuck does that mean? No.
Have you seen the drama?
No.
Caroline, how am I on theater? How am I looped into this in a way that you're not?
I don't know.
Ryan McCartan right now is on Broadway playing Jay Gatsby.
Okay.
And someone laughed after he got shot.
Okay. That
And
was
he has been
disrespectful
having
as fuck.
he has been having a crash out over it. He has been telling people, like, in an ironic way, like not in a real way, but like kind of he was trying to have fun with it, like saying that he was putting hexes on people that laughed.
Okay.
And like all this stuff, and like he was getting really defensive of the emotional moment that's supposed to be.
Why
in
do
a
I feel like
musical.
him saying that made everything way worse? Why do I have a feeling that made it all way worse?
It's like people, you were talking to people who laughed at you, and then you are giving them more reasons to want to laugh at you. And Wavy baby,
Giving Grace Lily.
and then a video comes out of him getting shot, like from someone's filming it,
Uh-huh.
and
Guys,
everybody
sorry,
in the comments are like,
spoilers for the
everybody
great
in the
freaking
spoilers for the
Gatsby gets
Great
shot.
Gatsby. I won't tell you who did it. Speaking of, I do really like the way that they did
The pool.
the pool. It
so
looks so cool.
Doesn't it look awesome?
But they were like, okay, so first the video comes out of Ryan McCartan doing it, and people are like, people aren't saying it,
Doing
but they are
what?
saying it. They're,
Dying
like,
or doing a hex?
dying.
Okay.
He didn't actually, like, he just wrote it in his
Well, you just kept
story.
saying a video comes out of him doing it. I'm like, what the fuck
No,
does
sorry,
that mean?
getting shot.
Okay.
And so we're seeing like what people laughed at, and we're like, okay, well,
Is it
the
funny?
way
What's
that
funny about it?
The way that he looks when he like does Disney acting.
Well, I'll
kind
just
of.
say it wasn't funny when Jeremy Jordan was doing
Well,
it.
this is what
What a
then
shame.
these videos of Jeremy Jordan and the other guy who's played Gatsby come out doing it, and nobody's laughing, and everybody's
the
like,
same
well, when
way?
you- No, they like it looks way more natural,
Yeah.
and they also everybody is like the universal funny part of it, no matter who's doing it, is like them very obviously going to get the towel to like it's actually a knee pad, so that
Yeah.
when they fall, it's like very clear what's happening. But anyway, someone put it in like, they were like, this is the holy order of Broadway star crash outs, and it's like the Taylor Louderman post. And it's like I think Barrett Wilbur, whatever her name is, she has like
Probably.
a crazy story that she posted one time, and Ryan McCartan is up there now.
Wow. I've seen nothing about it, but I obviously need to.
I can't believe that.
Obviously
That
need
makes
to look
me
it up.
feel like a loser.
Why?
What is going on my feed?
Why would that make
Well,
you
it's
feel
just
like a
like-
loser?
I
We're
don't know.
waiting for an answer. Yeah, you don't know? Okay. All right. Hey, guys. Hey, thespians. I've got your back. Anyway,
My favorite track on Mayhem right now is How Bad Do You Want Me, I think.
it is. That's hilarious to me. Phoebe texted me before I had listened to the album. She sends an invisible ink. How Bad Do You Want Me?
Me not wanting to spoil
the album is
Gaga
hilarious. And I hadn't listened yet. I like literally woke up, got on the road. I forgot it came out, and I didn't listen to it on the way there. And so on the way back, I listened to the whole thing. And anyway, Phoebe had said, "How bad do you want me?" is low-key like a Taylor Swift song. And I was like, whatever that means, and just like kept driving. And then I'm literally listening. And you know when you're driving, you're not looking at the track that's playing. Like you can't necessarily see the track name. So I'm listening and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's How Bad Do You Want Me? And I'm like, is this a Taylor Swift song? Is this like a Vault Reputation track? Like, what am I listening to right now? And then I look at the track and I'm like, oh my God, I think about your text. I'm like, this is what Phoebe was talking about. And either it's exactly the truth and everybody feels this way, or Phoebe and I have morphed into one. Because yes, it sounds exactly like Taylor Swift. And now people are saying that she wrote on it, which I don't think is true.
Which I'm like, I feel like we would have that information. That information would be more readily available.
What's
if that were
her
true.
Fucking pen name? We look and it's like, what is it? Like Nils?
Souljaboard?
Yeah,
I don't know.
like some weird bizarro name. Sorry, no offense.
But what I will say about Taylor is like, I feel like this really, obviously she's cemented as one of the greats, like obviously.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that there's a melody that is so clearly when we hear it, we're like, that's a Taylor melody. We didn't really like, we knew she was a great before Sour, but I feel like Sour was a moment where it was the first time we had really heard her influence in popular work in a way, like the way that you would hear like the Beatles in like different, like the way that it influences other sounds. Yeah. And the fact that it's a Lady Gaga song and we're like, that's a Taylor melody
crazy.
Is sorry, she's the goat.
She's the
and
goat.
I hate to make this conversation about Taylor. I hate to make
don't.
us talking about Mayhem about Taylor, but and obviously like Lady
we're not
Gaga
making it about
the
Taylor.
goat in
It's
her own
about
way.
Lady Gaga. We're just referencing Taylor
also
in a conversation.
her-
It's part of it.
I haven't finished SNL, but I've seen through both musical acts.
Okay.
And I love her. You know I love her. I don't love her as a host.
No.
But her
Performances.
It's like and okay, I'm not gonna be mean to Chapel ever, because she'll be mean right
hope
back.
not. Yeah, because she will get our podcast canceled.
Because you guys
Suddenly
know I
Lindsay
love her.
Shaw is like the hero of the country because Chapel Roan decided that our podcast is bullshit. And Lindsay Shaw's like, I've been saying that.
I you know I love her, but I think that this still stands, but I was reminded watching Lady Gaga last night and then seeing clips from her old SNL performances, I was reminded of like what a high level of artistry she operates at. And it's not that Chapel isn't in the conversation, but it is just like a little like, I only say this because I feel like the conversation around Chapel, because Lady Gaga's kind of been out of a conversation for a little bit, has been like Chapel's art. And she is in a lot of ways, but there's something about Lady Gaga that is just like, she is on a different plane than everybody else.
Well, here's the other thing. Chapel's like fucking 10 years old. I mean, like that's the other thing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
Like,
I was watching clips of Gaga's SNL performances from her first time doing it when she was 23 years old doing Love Game.
Yeah.
Chapel is similar, but I was reminded, I was like, wait, Lady Gaga really was like, she is a once in a generation artist.
Totally.
Like,
and I think,
and it reminded me that like, I think time has let us, it was easier to draw those comparisons, and the comparisons are still there, but I just think we need to remember, we need to put a little bit more respect on our elders' names.
Yeah, I don't know who you've been talking to that hasn't, is the thing that I'm a little bit concerned about right now. Is I'm like,
well, no. It's not a matter of people not respecting Gaga. I just mean it's not as clear of a comparison anymore.
I'll be so real. I honestly did not ever feel like I was comparing the two of them. I know that like the conversations were in the public, but I like never really felt the same. I feel like it's, I don't know. I feel like it's, I guess that's what it is I think that Lady Gaga is so well, here's the other thing is that Chapel doesn't exist without Lady Gaga. And like, so I think it's impossible to have the conversation about Chapel without acknowledging the space that was left for her. You know what I mean? And like, whereas the space was forged by Gaga and like, it wasn't there at all. Right. And so I think it also required such a level of vision and artistry that like, no shade to Chapel, but she doesn't have to have it the same way. Like, because Gaga was out here making these really artistic performance art sort of choices mainstream. And so we went through this whole thing of like, why the fuck is she wearing that? Why is she acting like that? We don't get it, you know? And Chapel now kind of gets to reap the benefits of Lady Gaga starting that conversation and leaving it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I haven't really thought of them as like comparing them for personally, but I agree that like without Gaga, there can't be what Chapel's doing right now. And I'm not to take that away from Chapel, but I do think also like when you don't have to forge your space in that way, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be the same level as artistry as what Gaga's got, where it's like Gaga didn't have a choice but to be like, if she talked such a big game too, where it was like, she didn't have the option to not show up and make everybody talk about her in a way that was good or bad. She didn't care. But like, and also I think Gaga was much more comfortable with being a star and wanted that too. Like she wanted that part of it. Gaga wanted to be the star that people approach on the streets, whereas like Chapel is like, well, that's not what I want. And it's like, well, that's my issue. I was like, you don't get it then. Like that's, you don't always get to have one without the other. Like maybe you feel like you want that, but like you could learn from your elders, as you're saying, like that you don't get to have that. But part of what made Gaga's vision work so well too is that she was like the perfect icon pop star because she wanted that. She wanted to be notorious and infamous and like, you know, all of that, as much as she maybe saw issue with it. Am I making sense? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think you are.
But,
and it's none of what we're saying. I mean,
I'm not talking shit on either person. I'm just saying,
yeah.
It's just sort of like an analysis of it. But
I was just reminded, like her face and the way that her entire body is a tool in the performance.
I couldn't believe that she could breathe, and the fact that her voice is steady and that mic is on. You know what I mean? Like,
it's reminding me of everything that made our parents be like.
Yeah.
Kind of weirded out and scared by someone like Lady Gaga.
I will never forget the first time I saw Gaga live. And I was like, why am I going to this Gaga concert? Because at the time it was Let's Play a Love Game, you know, and it was like, they were fun songs, but I was not like dying for Gaga, I guess. And I think the attitude was she was kind of weird and like whatever. And so I think Mom got tickets to Gaga. And I remember being like, I don't know why I have tickets to Gaga, but like want to go. And I actually think it was Nick Honkala who went with me to Gaga. And we went. And I just will never forget like the way that I felt also like being in there. And she had this moment where she, you know, did her whole Tinkerbell thing where like she has everyone clap for her to bring her back to life. And she's laying on the stage. And she's singing and she's like, you guys paid so much money to be here. If you think I'm not singing live, you're out of your mind. And she just like sang and I was like, holy shit. And I remember being there and also looking around at the space and the community that she created for a lot of the queer community who really like
I was thinking
up.
About that honestly, so much with Bowen last night. I was thinking about, and you texted me something about that, but I was like, in Matt's story, it makes you want to cry thinking about it.
Yes,
like,
it does. It does. I wanted to cry when he got to do a sketch with her. I'm like, I mean, to think of Bowen, like it really does make me cry. And I think for me, that might have been seeing Lady Gaga in high school, might have been the first time, like I was in theater, but like that I was in a queer space and I was looking around and being like, wow, like it's so amazing and beautiful to see all of these people feel so empowered and comfortable to like live out loud and like dress the way they want to dress and
it's just crazy that she was able to create that at that time and also at her age. Like she was so young.
Yes. She said, and I'll never forget it, like it gives me chills. She was like, tonight, like this show is for, it was the Monster Ball. And she was like, this show is for anybody.
Which is crazy that you have to go to that.
I know. She was like, this show, but it's like, I've seen so many concerts and like, I still get chills thinking about this. You know what I mean? It's just like, cause she really, it's just amazing. It was an amazing experience to get to be there. But she said like tonight, like this show is for everybody who's made to feel like they do not belong, like they are an other, like they are a freak. Tonight, the freaks are on the outside. And it was this moment of like, and I remember just looking around and like it was like, it felt like being at a drag show, like looking around and seeing the people in costume. And my homeroom teacher, who is a gay man, was there in costume, and I passed him. And I just remember thinking,
Wait, that's
like,
crazy.
I know, we never talked about it. Like, I've seen him at 2 concerts, and I just
remember the second story.
Yeah, but I remember seeing him and just being like, you know, it was just a moment for me where I was like, I am, you know, an ally to this community, but like I don't own this community, and I'm not like, I'm being here and just like seeing how impactful and meaningful, and in a world where, like, you know, we grew up in this suburban world where it just like wasn't something you saw every day, you know, because people didn't feel, and like, it also makes me so excited to see it the world now, and like how this is something we see so much more now. And like, I hope that the people who are like my age in high school are having experiences like that, not just when they get to go to the Monster Ball, you know, or to it's like,
Yeah.
But like, she was such a massive part of like that, pushing that story, the stories of queer people forward, like, and just Mother Monster, like, being such a.
I was thinking about Bowen, obviously, and having that experience, but also someone tweeted a quote tweeted a video of the performance and was like, they didn't say this in these words, but like, there's a Bowen somewhere who's watching Lady Gaga on TV do this, and is like, that's out there. And thinking Bowen had that experience with her. I know he wasn't a kid when like he was at school, I think, with like Matt, but like Gaga
who
made
she
that community
was for young queer people, like, and older queer people. Like, that's the other thing, the point of me mentioning my homeroom teacher too. It's like, there were people my age, there were people in their 20s, and there were people in their 40s who, like, if that's the first time that like somebody got to feel like the freaks were on the outside and they could be themselves in here at that age too, just was like, I just remember it being like a really eye-opening, moving experience for me, where I just was like, Lady Gaga is like important. Like, not only is she so talented and like gifted, but she is so important what she is doing. And like,
yeah. And that's how we, not again to equate Chapel's success to Gaga paving the way, but like, that's how we get a Good Luck Babe being a radio hit, because that's not the kind of song that would be on the radio ever.
No. And there's so much darkness in the world. Like, we can look around and be so depressed and like watch the news and be like, God fucking damn it, like, this is just so backwards and insane. But it's like, there are also those moments, like on SNL last night, knowing that Bowen Yang got to introduce
I don't think this
Gaga.
is really like a quote, but there's this sentiment that came out of the AIDS epidemic where people were like, how did the community get up every day and like go on? And they were like, we would get up and fight and try to protest and beat the illness, and then we'd go out and we'd dance. You don't stop. Like, just because things are bad doesn't mean you can't. You have to feel guilty about going out and dancing and enjoying.
Joy. Like, find your spaces and your people and your joy. And I think, you know what, maybe that's one of the reasons I love Chromatica so much. I know you don't love it as much, but like, I do think that was her message with Chromatica. She was like, more than ever, she was like, I was gonna wait, and she did wait a little bit to release it, because she was like, I want us all to be able to dance together, but like, we also need that. Like, we're all, you know, the world was sick with this pandemic, and she released Chromatica, and it was like such a moment where we got to like, but it was like, we want to be in a club. And I honestly think if Chromatica had its moment in a like pre-COVID world, I think we would be looking at it like an art pop, but because of time and space, that we just don't. I do think with this album, Mayhem, Gaga has here created an album that's impossible to sing in karaoke, and I think that was part of her idea. She was like, you know what, this one, I don't think so. You know what, you guys aren't taking this one. Yeah, no. There will be one song on here that you could sing at karaoke, and it's called How Bad Do You Want
Die
Me?
With a Style.
Die With a Style. Die With a Style. I don't like Die With a Smile. I don't like that it's the last song in the album.
Me either. But what I will say is two things. One, it fits better on the album than I had anticipated. Once you get to it,
from
it makes
start to
more
finish,
sense.
and that makes sense why the first half is more I like better, because it's just a more fun half of the album.
But two is, she does historically, and I'm mainly thinking about art pop, so I don't know if this is actually a pattern on all the albums, but like the last couple songs on a stretch of an album for Gaga sometimes are head scratchers.
Yeah.
Like with art pop, Dope. Listen, I'm an art pop girl. It's my favorite Gaga album. Nothing will ever change that. That album is like probably my top 5 albums of all time. I hate the song Dope. I hate it.
Really?
I don't like it. Doesn't do it for me. I don't love when Gaga leans into that sound. I know that she's such a good singer, so like I get it, but it's just not for me. But that stretch of Dope to Gypsy to Applause, it's like, how is that? I don't know how you, which I think is the order. Like Applause, it makes sense to end on there, but it also could have fit anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, would have been a great start as well.
Gypsy
Or
feels
middle.
like the last song on the album. Like by the time you get to the end of it, it's like that's the end of the record.
Yeah.
And then Applause starts, and it's like, wait, is the Eras Tour about to?
Well, yeah, it literally
begin?
it feels like a
That's kind of the
beginning,
vibe.
or it could be like, okay, are you tired? Let's put it in the middle of the album, wake you back up.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
love the songs she chose to sing, and I love how she did them. I mean,
agree.
like this is an example because I was like, for anyone who's like a musical theater person, hosting and being the musical guest isn't really that hard. Like it's like that's like a night on Broadway. You know what I mean? But for someone like Gaga, I'm like, yeah, no, those musical numbers would put me out for the rest of the night. Like, I mean, the way that she just like gives every fucking ounce of what she's capable of doing to that time, and like everything. I mean, I love that she chose Killa. I'm obsessed with that song. That's one of my favorites. And I think it's just like the vision, exactly what you're saying, the vision, the artistry. It feels like the Gaga who used to put that in the forefront of everything. And not that it's not that she stopped doing that, but like she acknowledged it on SNL. She's like, I'm an actress now. Like she was she needed to be more palatable to the masses for A Star Is Born, honestly.
Well, we also went from Joanne to Chromatica,
Right.
to which Chromatica didn't have an opportunity to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
With. So like it has, I mean, and if you look at it like that, it really has been like, I mean, I was in high school when Joanne came out, so it's been a minute since that. Since we last saw Gaga in like in her traditional sense of how we remember her.
Right. It'll be interesting to see now because when she first started doing that, people were really hesitant to like buy into it. So it'll be interesting to see how it is now, like with people who maybe aren't like old school Gaga fans, who aren't familiar with her whole journey, who like maybe found her during Joanne. Or Chroma, it'd just be interesting to see how they react to this.
It's giving a Swiftie who started being a Swiftie during Folklore and Evermore, and then was like, wait, I hate Midnight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, this is actually the brand. this is the brand.
Hate to bring it to you.
So either get on, okay. Did you see what Charlie posted about how she was like, all of her albums will change back for a reason? All of her album artwork. Did you see that?
Yeah, I interpreted it more as I don't think there is a reason yet. I think she's just saying I changed them for a reason.
You're giving Taylor Swift,
and I'll change them back when there's a reason.
Charlie,
yeah, she's never gonna see it that way. She thinks she's being like high art.
I know.
She's like she thinks it's high art, and I'm like, yeah, an Easter egg is high art.
That's exactly what's happening right now. She's like, everything I do is a purpose, and it's like, okay, same with Big Al.
The next thing that you put on here about Charlie, here's what I want to say. I don't want her to play the White Witch.
Shut the fuck up. I do.
I don't.
Why?
I want Hunter Schafer to play the White Witch. Because the
Chronicles of Narnia is so dear to you.
No. I don't think she has the look. I think it would take me out of it.
I think it would be so, honestly, cunty if she went bleach blonde, bleach eyebrows, and did the White Witch. I'm also like, sorry, but I look so hot with snow up my nose. Like, it is giving the White Witch.
It's not for me, but if that is what happens, then I will be happy for you. But also, I just want to point out, Maya Hawke got a lot of flack in an interview the other day because she's a Nepo baby. The other day, it was a couple weeks ago, when she said that there have been conversations by production companies that they look at people's social media followings when they cast people.
That makes me sick.
That's becoming a more and more common thing. And
yeah, true about Broadway.
If Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter is having that, that's affecting her career moves, then think about how it's affecting everybody else.
Yeah.
And I just think I expect something different from Greta, and I hope
Yeah.
if Charlie is the White Witch, she better be like, I better not be thinking about anybody who could be better.
I think she'd kill Loki. I really, really do.
I want it to be Hunter Schafer.
Well, that would be great too. I would also love that, but I just haven't seen any chatter about that, so I didn't like build that up in my head at all. I had Charlie built up in my head, so I'm not shutting you down. That would be great. I would love to see it, but I also would love to see Charlie. And what's with this pitting women against each other, Phoebe? Speaking of interesting things is that Tyga and Madeline Pesh are dating, apparently, allegedly.
Yes. Here's what I hate to say.
Her last
I can't
name.
bring myself to care about either of them.
Okay,
I
but
don't care.
Cheryl Blossom, I kind of do care what Cheryl Blossom's up to.
Yeah, but Madeline Petch is not. Sorry, Madeline Petch. I know you are Cheryl Blossom, but you don't really give a Cheryl Blossom on the reg.
That's true. Okay.
Now, if Cheryl Blossom were dating Tyga,
now
I
that
would have
I'd
questions.
be interested in. That I would be interesed in. Okay. Well, let's talk about Traitors.
What are you doing in Riverdale?
Tyga, this is not your usual John. Guys, let's talk about the Traitors finale.
Oh, it was perfect.
Okay, I guess. But what I have to say is, perfect in the way that the most boring episode should be the finale of a show like this. Like, it says something when it's like, and the most boring thing will be the final episode of such an action-packed season like we have had. Where, I mean, every episode has been so insane. This feels like the right...
Wait, I saw a video of this girl. She has like a little, like, I think it's a camera for when she's out of the apartment for her dog. Like, it's on like her little mantle. But it was recording while she was watching Traitors, and she captured the moment her boyfriend's working at like a desk behind her with his back to her, and she is watching the moment that they reveal Brittany's vote.
Oh my God.
And she shoots out of her seat like her team just won the Super Bowl. I was really happy with everybody that won. I was really happy with how pretty much everything went. I think Brittany botched it.
Okay.
I know you said that that's what you would have done.
What I would have done.
She actually, at first, I was completely with her. Like, she handled the Gabby thing perfectly.
That was the perfect choice, was to say Gabby's a faithful. I'm so glad. And I'm glad she did it at the table. Like, I thought that was the right move. I think that all of her moves were ultimately the right moves to make. I don't think there's any world where she could have won. I just don't. But like,
I do think that's true.
I
just think she went
really
a little hard.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. I think all of her moves were the right moves, but I think that she went a little bit too like smug villain at it at the round table. And especially when she was like, don't call for me unless I send for you. It was like, and this is giving like, I'm the bad guy, which is fine. But
especially after she had been like, I felt like she was kind of getting to a position, and she had been doing this because she was faithful for so long.
Right.
Like, she had a relationship with Dylan, and I think even Gabby were like, I think they did trust her.
Well,
and
it seemed like they were considering at least.
And then she kind of, Brittany like changed her tune a bit. Brittany could have easily deflected to Ivor because suspicion was already there because of Dolores.
Yeah.
That's like a quarter of the battle.
I mean, I would have also been like, we need to make Dylan look like, but like, I just would have done that because I think that at the end of the day, Dylan being there at the fire pit would have meant Brittany never would have won. So like, I think I would have been like, look, there's a world where we get to the fire pit, and if Dylan is there, I don't get any money. But if Dylan is not there, I could win. And I still think that's true.
I guess that's true.
So like, that's where I'm like, I still believe that was the right call, like in terms of strategy, like, but she was working with nothing. She like, I mean, she honestly, it would have been so fucking hard for her to win. Like, it just would have been, especially she botched it really when she had her insane emotional reaction, and which I understand her reaction to when Danielle got eliminated. But I also think Danielle
had instilled the fear of God in Brittany.
Yes.
Like, truly had like, Brittany had a reaction like she was about to go home to her parents, and she like had an F on her paper, and she was going to be in so much trouble.
I mean, yes.
I was like,
I understood it, but I was just like, we can't be doing this right now. Like, it makes it look like, but I also was like, okay, Danielle a little bit hinted at it because she did leave and say something nice about everybody except for Brittany, but I thought here's where Brittany kind of messed it up. When Dylan said, it just seems so personal with you and Danielle. That was Brittany's opportunity to say, because it is. Because I'm sure he didn't watch Reindeer Games. She could have been like, I did this to her. I
and I've spent the last however many weeks trying to gain her trust back.
And we are genuinely friends outside of this game. Whether or not that's true, that is what she should have said.
Which we find out Danielle thinks that she is like, and even at the reunion, I was like, you are not reading the audience well at all.
She was driving me insane.
Did you see the TikTok that they made where they were like, I'm passing the phone to whatever? Mm-mm. Starts with Gabby, goes through a bunch of people, gets to Danielle. So Danielle's passing the phone back to Gabby, and she does this impression of Gabby's voice and is like, and I'm really smart, and like says it in her voice, and then says, but I love it, like whatever, like tries to make it also nice, but like she's just comes across as so
Danielle is not funny.
Condescending.
She's not funny. So when she tries to make jokes, they don't hit. Like they don't read. Yeah. If you're not funny, stop trying to be funny. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, I thought it was insane. I honestly thought the reunion was a little bit lackluster, which I think we thought about the last Traitors reunion as well. It's kind of boring.
I think I watched like the first. I think I stopped watching with like 10 minutes left because I was just like, okay, there's nothing I care about really anymore. I wanted the Brittany Danielle stuff.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I did not love, and this is where I've thought about this from a game perspective. And what makes this show so interesting is that half the people there are looking at it like a game and the other half are looking at it like they're hanging out with friends trying to solve a mystery. Yeah. And so they get so hurt. And it's like, you just can't, it has to be a game in your mind or you're going to get hurt. Like if you want to leave this experience having made friends and having this like be a gorgeous experience for you, then you have to look at it as like everything is fair. You know, it's a game. But I don't know what I think about Danielle swearing on her grandkids' lives.
I don't either. And then trying to like make it seem like that was like,
hell yeah. And then she goes, this was crazy. And they're like, really? Like you would do that? Like it just seems
I feel
so,
like maybe
insane.
I feel like she had to have that reaction because at this point, before the reunion had filmed, people had already started mentioning like when it would be revealed that they were eliminated. They were kind of bringing up like, I didn't think she was because she was doing this.
Yeah.
And people were reacting to that. So I think that she had to go in with an energy of like, yeah, because it's not Danielle to go in contrite. Like it's not like her.
So true. I mean, she's not going to apologize for anything that she did in this game. So and that's the thing is like for her, but I'm like, if I don't know, that is a place where I'm like, that made me, I would have wanted to believe her too. Cause I would be like, that's crazy. But she says, well, I mean, it wasn't a life-changing amount of money, but like it could have, helped my grandkids. Shut the fuck up. It wasn't a life-changing. Meanwhile, Gabby's over here like, if I won, then me and Robbie could get married. Like it is a life-changing amount of money.
Did you see Robbie's story after when Robbie was like texting this guy, I guess, to try to get it was like literally like within 12 hours, she was like, what, like, is there any way you could, I think they were like, I don't know. They were getting out of LA for something. She was like, is there any way that you can make the clues spell out, Gabby, will you marry me? Oh. And he was like, on it. I'll do it.
Oh
and
my God.
That's how they got like, imagine that's like their morning thing. Like they do the mini crossword together.
I mean, and insane.
One morning, it's that
is just,
and Gabby was probably like, oh, that's crazy.
I know.
Gabby was probably like, I'm
so
embarrassed that was.
I love them. I thought it was so sweet, but it just was like, Danielle, you sound like such a bitch. I was like,
wait, did they actually get married?
Yes.
I know that they did, but when I first saw the pictures, I was like, is this just like
a Joe and Maddie type of thing,
like a stunt kind of thing? Like Gabby and Robbie seem like they would do that. When I realized that and especially after watching the Traitors, when Alan asks what that amount of money would mean to Gabby, it was so, and the fact that so sweet.
I loved it. Honestly, what a great season of Traitors. Tom Sandoval is over people bringing up his cheating. That was the one thing every time it was brought up, whether it was on Watch What Happens, who was it with him?
Kyle.
God, what a fucking nightmare rotation that was. Kyle and Tom Sandoval. Jesus Christ.
Did you see the gift that Tom brought Andy though?
No.
Which is kind of funny. It was a teddy bear that he was like, I heard that you really liked my singing and I thought this might be a good gift for like you and your son or something. And you press a button and it's him from the Traitors.
Oh my God, I cannot.
And like, Tom, if you can just, I know that Bravo Nation is never really gonna forgive you. It's never gonna happen. And we're always gonna think that you are a slimy little guy. Because you are. But what I will say is, if you can lean into this and stop getting so defensive when your past is brought up,
that's the thing.
There's stuff. This could work for you.
There's a reason you were on television for so long and people genuinely enjoyed watching you. You know, people enjoyed watching you and Schwartz and your little antics, and they liked having you guest on other shows. Like, you guys were, I remember when they went to, I think it was Winter House, and like the two of them were such great guests too. Like, they cleaned up and they were like, let us do, like, they were really like,
they're better guests than Craig.
Like good fucking, I know. And so it's like, there are redeeming qualities there. Unfortunately, what really takes us out of it, Tom, is the fact that you can't own what you did. And like, he still won't, like, he'll admit to, like, you know, cheating on Ariana, but he can't understand why it was such a big deal. And like, that is where it's just like,
he's still gonna throw a little slight at Ariana on like, Watch What Happens about the house. It's like, Tom, move on.
Move on. If you genuinely wanted to be likable and wanted to like reclaim your name, then you would not be acting like this every time it's brought up. Like, you have to just, like, this is your story. You unfortunately made this your story. And so by your own decisions, you did not have to, it's not like this was thrust upon you, this unfair narrative, you know, that happens to people, not to you. You made this happen and now you don't want to own it. And that's why we all can't let it go, because you won't just say, you won't just fall on the fucking sword and be like, you know what? I was a piece of shit, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better. I own it. I understand why you all think I'm a piece of shit. I get it. Like, I did fuck up. I was an asshole. I wasn't nice to Ariana. Just own it. And guess what? This would have been over. But the fact that you won't stop trying to defend yourself means that we can't move on from it, you know? Because it's just like, if you could just own that it's part of your narrative now, and Alan Cumming is going to make jokes about it. That's the only reason people know who you are, dude. So
Lisa Rinna has been trying forever to tell everybody to own it.
Own it.
Own it. Own it.
Let's get into Southern Hospitality. Oh my
God.
I mean, what a finale. I'm sorry. But the other thing is, watching this show, there is nothing like a Charleston party. And the thing, I feel like you need to have an understanding of Charleston to really get this show and the way that this rumor mill is working and the way that, like, because Charleston, like, being in school there, it is the smallest city. It feels so, this school is 1 block away from like all of the bars. Like, everybody knows everything. Everybody sees everything. All the drama in this city is